Welcome, everybody, to the Monday Night Tours. We are your guides through this magical journey through the Monday Night Wars. I am Josh Kaiser, and I'm joined today by Kyle Hoagland. How's it going, buddy?
Oh, how is it going? What is today's supposed date?
Oh, this is the follow-up to Tom Brady's 6th Super Bowl win, Kyle. So an amazing come-from-behind victory in the fourth quarter, putting the Eagles to rest. Sorry, Philly fans, you have to wait another year for that ring. Nick Foles couldn't get the job done.
Or at least that's
what we're hoping. Of course, this is our marathon of recording, Kyle. We're looking at the February 5th editions of Monday Nitro and Raw from 1996, and of course with the honeymoon and wedding and everything going on, I'm going to be on a beach by the time this recording gets out to you guys. But we wanted to make sure we were up to date. We watched it all, and I got to admit, Kyle, when I was watching this, I was on Raw now, and it was about the 6th episode I had watched in a row. It was late. I started dozing off a little bit. I had to kind of rewatch it a little bit just before we recorded, so my memory might be a little fuzzy with this one, so hopefully it doesn't suffer too much, and I promise when we get back after the break, so probably around the February 12th edition or so, we'll be much better rested. All the extra activities in our lives between you traveling and me also traveling in a manner of speaking, and getting married will be done, and we can focus on the most important things in life, Kyle, and that's reviewing the Monday Night Wars from 1996.
I agree, and yeah, I think it's important that we've watched like 4 weeks at least in the past, seems like past 10 days. And
it has been a whirlwind, absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely has been, and it really would help to get some of the Road Warrior rust off of us. So it'd be nice to get a nice little. You enjoy your wedding and everything, and I'll relax for a little bit. We'll come back fully charged and ready to talk about what happened after In Your House and Super Brawl. Well, there'll be a lot to talk about when we get back.
Absolutely, there will be, Kyle. But that said, we've got plenty to talk about tonight, and let's just get into it. We're here at Nitro, we're live, and I don't think they told us where we're from, and I never got a chance to look it up. Did you happen to?
Yes, we are. They mentioned it like right after Lakeland, Florida.
You're right. They did mention that at one point, and I meant to go back and write it at the top
They're
of
in
my
between
notes,
Tampa and Orlando. They at least wanted to let you know that it's near two important cities that they probably might have shown a skyline for.
Right. And how I knew that we were in Lakeland, Kyle? There is a bunch of fans on the hard camera side wearing, I believe, hockey jerseys for a defunct hockey team, which I'm trying to look up their name right now, and I can't find it. I don't see it. Oh, well. Anyways, there's a bunch of them wearing it. It may not be hockey. It could be soccer or something, arena football. But anyways, they're all wearing this jersey. That's how I found out they were from Lakeland. But that said, Kyle, we are in Lakeland, and Pepe's rocking sort of like a Raggedy Ann sort of looking outfit.
I was like, is this like a Little House on the Prairie or a Pippi Longstocking or a Raggedy? I couldn't tell. Yeah,
I went with Raggedy Ann because of that yarn, that red yarn hair kind of look to it. Either way, just kind of off the rails completely with what Pepe's been rocking lately. Easily the most adorable and also the most crazy outfit I think Pepe's been wearing yet. And the commentary's booth's letting us know that if Hogan catches the wrong part of the cage at Super Brawl, he could be blind. So he is in that cage match, Kyle, but we're also not entirely sure yet who his opponent is. I think it's
a Giant.
We think it's the Giant, right? But we're not positive on that. And
Ric Flair didn't enunciate well enough at the end of the last episode to let us know.
He did not, but he will be wrestling tonight against Marcus Bagwell, Kyle. So if that's not going to put all the viewers on this channel, I'm not sure what will. And then of course Sting and Lex are going to be defending those tag team titles against the Road Warriors. So we got something to look forward to, Kyle. But our opening match, Chris Benoit versus Randy Savage. Randy Savage, of course, coming out with a woman who will be later known as Nancy Benoit, and Miss Elizabeth. And this is for the WCW heavyweight title, because why wouldn't it be? Benoit.
I don't get this. Why would they do that? Because you know that Chris Benoit's not going to win this. Is not going to win the title, because if he does, he doesn't take on Flair in a cage match.
Right. It makes
like
no
this doesn't
sense
make any
at
sense.
all. None whatsoever. But you know what? Let's be honest. We didn't think Benoit was going to win this match, right?
No, I didn't. But at least like give us some sort of reason to like have interest in this match, which outside of what's going to be the obvious extracurriculars during and after the match. But you know, the match itself is your classic. Randy Savage, I'm now convinced, is one of the best people who put over heels. He's so good at it.
He does very well with it. You're right about that. And he does a great job. You know, with this, I will say, the crowd in Lakeland, Kyle, they're not a fan of Chris Benoit. There was heavy boos for him, and I enjoyed the comment about how they said he left a trail of broken bodies from Canada to show up today. So, in poor taste, I thought, you know, that's foreshadowing, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, this might have been one of the saddest pairings to know that all four, you have Savage, Miss Elizabeth, Benoit, and his wife showcased in this match. It was just like I tried as best as I could to like ignore all that and think to myself, okay, because one of the things I always tried doing with Benoit is, you know, you always want to try and separate the wrestler from the man.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Oh, I was but I think I was doing a good job with that. And then every time I watch a match with Benoit, I always wonder, like, was it this part where he hit his head where that starts it, or what? And this match was no different. He takes one of the gnarliest spills through a suicide dive I've ever seen.
That suicide dive, he basically looks like his face plants somewhere between the combination of the concrete floor and the bottom part of the guardrail on the outside. It looked ugly. I fully expected him to roll over and be gushing blood, maybe without a tooth or so. He looked okay, but man, that looked ugly. Just ugly.
I would have loved to be in the locker room after that match and just be like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And just him probably just being there, just standing there and like in the end of the room, just like, trying to collect himself.
Right.
Because that was a thud. That was not fun to watch.
What also was not fun to watch, Kyle, is, or I should say more fun to listen to, is the commentary booth discussing why Chris Benoit was not disqualified after he flipped Randy Savage over the top rope.
So it's still still in it.
It's still technically a rule. They're still bringing it up when it happens. So I don't know. You know, take it for what it is. Needless to say, Kyle, Flair's going to come out. He's going to grab Miss Elizabeth. And then the big swerve, woman turning on Macho Man, joining Arn Anderson and Ric Flair to attack Randy Savage. They throw the match out. Hulk Hogan comes out, Kyle, with the chair shots. That seems to be his new go-to. And
we called chair mushes.
Yeah. I thought this was a 2-star match. There were some weird moments. I especially, I forgot to mention earlier, there was a slingshot where, like, Benoit was going to slingshot Macho Man. Macho Man was like was laying on like his head on the outside apron part, and it looked like Benoit was going to do like a slingshot to like flip him up so the bottom rope would choke him. But instead, Macho Man just stands up. It was
he was having none of that.
No, none at all. But in general, I thought it was a decent match. Of course, you get the woman heel turn at the end, which was interesting. But it also described. It was funny to me that Heenan was talking about how attractive woman was at the beginning part of the match, and typically Heenan is not attracted to the women who are faces. He'll talk about how ugly Kimberly is or something like that, but then say how attractive whatever this woman
like
is.
Sherry or something.
Yeah, Sherry or something like that, because she's a heel. So I was like, wow, I'm surprised. I wrote it down. Now I understand why he thought she was attractive, because she's turning heel. So Heenan called it before it was actually happening.
Or he knew all about it.
Hey, Don't
he
say that.
He is good buddies with Flair, so I mean, he could easily be in on it.
Right, that's fair enough. What did you think about this match overall?
I gave it 2.25. Like I said, I had no problem with the match. I almost want to give it a 2.5 star, but I'm just I kind of really wanted. I'm getting kind of getting impatient with the fact that I feel like the only time Macho Man wins a match is if it's for a title, and then other than that, it's either a DQ or he loses. Like he always looks bad. Like he always looks like he's going to go into an important match with the stack against him. And it's fun to talk about, and it's a cool idea the first 5 times. But this is this whole song and dance, and once again, this is WCW at its finest, just kind of rehashing and recycling the same things that I feel like each wrestler is going through. We've now been watching Nitro since August, right? And it just feels like no one's actual story or character has really matured or changed since then. And it's because every time that they feel like they want to go a direction to further, they take 2 steps back. And right now, all Macho has ever really been so far has been kind of like the paranoid, kind of, like I said, we talk every week about how every time he fights a face or fights a heel, he just basically gets his shit kicked in for 10 minutes and then comes back for 30 seconds for the elbow drop. So this was no different. He got his ass kicked. Like Benoit was just taking his sweet ass time. He missed one suicide dive and he got elbow dropped. And it's, I don't know. The formula it's getting stale for me.
Fair enough, Kyle. After the match, we get Mean Gene, who's going to try to come in and get a word in with what just went on. And Flair,
well, considering, this is with Macho being helped back, right? He was being carried to the back.
Yeah, Macho's being, so Mean Gene wants to talk to Hogan, and Hogan's just about to say something, and Flair comes in from behind and attacks Hogan. So Mean Gene really not helping there. Let's the attack.
Neither is Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah, she didn't either, which gets called out. But
Macho.
They work on that eye. They're really trying to make Hogan blind here. Giant comes out with a chair. He starts attacking, and then the Zodiac Kyle once again gets between Hogan and the Giant, stopping the Giant from doing further damage to Hogan. So furthering this Zodiac weird storyline that they're trying to do. Out comes Savage at this point. Savage yells, like he said, at Miss Elizabeth for not giving Hogan a heads up, and Mean Gene. But then Mean Gene, he has Miss Elizabeth's back. He said, "No, man, she was gonna say something. It was not her fault. Don't blame her." And Hogan is bloody, and they want to know where the medics are, Kyle, because he needs some help. After this,
also, did you see Ric Flair's shirt? He was wearing a gold. Well, I don't know. He has a match. He's like, what? Does he just walk around in like a Gold's Gym sweatshirt and his singlet and just walks around like that's something you should
comfy.
do on live television?
I guess it's comfy, man. I don't know.
It looked like it did. It did look like a very comfy. But they're in Florida too. It's like I understand if you're in Minnesota, you want to wear a sweatshirt, but this dude's he's down in between Tampa and Orlando, and he's walking around in a Gold's Gym sweatshirt. He's styling and profile, and this dude's wearing a freebie gym shirt.
Hey, you know what? The dude can do what he wants. He's Ric Flair, right?
I get you.
And by the way, Kyle, I think I found the team name, which is what I've been trying to do. I think it's the Lakeland Predators, which were a hockey team. I think an independent hockey team. So that's what they were wearing. In case,
the C stands for commitment, and you were committed to give that name to everybody.
Committed. I was definitely committed to that. Even if I sounded distracted, I apologize for that. Now I'm focused, Kyle, and we follow up this Savage, Mean Gene, Miss Elizabeth interaction with WCW Magazine, Kyle. So we get more exclusive photos from World War III. Whoever said print was dead, right?
Oh, 96, I don't think it was.
Well, you can see it's heading that way. We come back, Kyle. We get the tag team match that we were promised from last week. The Taskmaster and Hugh Morris versus Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. Of course, Jimmy Hart out there to manage Taskmaster and Hugh Morris. they open up with a recap of what happened last week, where Arn got attacked and Pillman kind of ran away and then got back into it. And, Kyle, I got to say, when Pillman came out, I don't know if you noticed or not, he's wearing the Four Horsemen pants, if you will, the same pants that Chris Benoit was wearing. So I got to say that it's nice to see that the Horsemen have some, uniforms to them. Even if Arn Anderson and Ric Flair are not joining in on it, I'm glad to see that Pillman and Benoit, at least are showing some uniformity, if you will.
Because they're wearing uniforms.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Pillman also runs off camera to go scream at some fans or something. Arn is definitely the disappointed dad who has that talented kid who just doesn't give a shit. And
this whole match is kind of actually it's like three people whose storylines or like their characters are supposed to be like unhinged, like psychos, and then you've got like Arn who's like trying to just make sense of this whole damn match. This was an awkward match. Yes, it was, Kyle, but it got even weirder because they come back from commercial. And we go right into our WCW Saturday Night promo. So normally this happens before or in between matches or something. Here we are. It's happening in between actually right after I think everybody came out. But either way, your boy Kyle, Sergeant Pittman, wrestling Mr. Saturday Night himself, VK Wall Street. I gotta say, I'm interested in this match just because I want to know what has happened with Sergeant Pittman's manager situation. They have not discussed it. I was hoping I'd get a little shout out there. Nothing. I want to know what happens, Kyle. I hope we get clarity at some point. I would think that they would have told us what was going on with him, but then again, and we'll talk about it later. There's some other things that they bring up later on in the show. There are some other things. Shat myself about. Right. So yes, we'll just keep going. Let's move on. They do mention that Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman will be in tag action, so hopefully things go well tonight for those two who have some differences as tag partners because they're tagging again this Saturday. The Giant's going to be there, and as will Lex and Sting. Will they still be tag champions? We'll find out. Kyle, they're going to let us know that a respect match was signed just a little bit ago. Kevin Sullivan is going to be strapped to Brian Pillman and is going to try to teach him some RESPECT. And then the match itself, Kyle. I think they... I take that back. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. Pillman goes after the cameraman, I think during the match, which Bischoff takes... much offense to and says, do not put this guy back on the camera if he acts like that ever again. Which he does. He does at the end of the match as well. Right. And I think they may have even mentioned, Kyle, for Saturday night that Macho Man is going to be taking on Chris Benoit, but they don't actually... Yeah, rematch. They don't show a graphic or anything like that. So let's hope Benoit takes a little bit better care of himself in that match. That was hopefully he doesn't have too much of his brain scrambled at that point. This match, though, I don't know what you have for your notes. My notes were everybody was definitely taking turns no selling everyone else's shit. It was a lot of brawling, and actually I believe Mongo may have put it best, Kyle, when he said Pillman and Sullivan in there battling it out and brawling like it's Saturday night at the Country Western Bar. And you know that there's something wrong with it when you're saying you think Mongo said it best when he said, and then insert something he said. But no, this match was just weird because, if you notice, when Sullivan and it almost looked like a shoot because it felt that Pillman and Sullivan were not selling anything. He put him in a tree of woe and did a move, and then Pillman just got right back up. And there was not a single point in this match where Pillman sold anything. I agree with you, and to me, Kyle, I think it was good though. It felt like a brawl. That's why I said the whole Country Western Bar. It felt like two guys who were just beating the shit out of each other, not doing anything crisp, not doing anything clean. But it felt like they hated each other and they just wanted to inflict pain on each other, and they didn't care if they were getting hurt in the process. But the problem was, it looked like three people who weren't selling, and then Arn, who's trying to have a fucking traditional match. Arn did not fit well into this this way this match was set up. I agree with you there. Eventually, Arn and Sullivan will battle towards the entrance ramp, and out of nowhere, a broom is broken over the head of Arn Anderson. As it would in Lakeland, Florida. Right. Jimmy Hart, meanwhile, brings a strap out, gives it to Kevin Sullivan. That leads to Brian Pillman getting whipped by it. No. First of all, let's understand how the end of this match happened. Jimmy Hart throws him the whip, or the belt or whatever. Nothing has actually happened. No one has been struck with it. and the ref called for the bell.
Is that when they're... So it's, at least they're consistent with their calls, right? One time they'll let it happen, the next time they won't, even if nothing happens. Yet they're
Hogan, or one time Hogan just says, "Hey, this did happen." He's like, "I believe you, Hulkster," and then calls the bell.
Yeah, total chaos, Kyle. Then they mentioned something about like that broom. They're doing a bunch of broom puns at one point, and they mention how Arn Anderson was knocked out cold. Immediately after they say that, they cut to Arn Anderson, who's standing outside ringside, pissed off. So he's not knocked out cold, apparently.
Did you also notice too that Pillman, that it looked like they were going to set up a spot where Pillman was going to get whipped? Like Hugh Morris was holding him down so that he can get whipped. I think he literally got whipped one time, and he just got out of there.
Once. Yeah,
he was done.
The match is ultimately, Kyle, basically thrown out, I guess, or they DQ'd him. Whatever happens. I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't the greatest match, but I liked the storytelling in this one, and just they're continuing this Pillman Sullivan feud. They're making me interested in this strap match because I like the way this match was a brawl. I have a feeling you feel a little differently, but that's how I felt about it.
I give it 1 3/4. Yeah, the storytelling was the only good part about this. The broom deal was just a weird thing because obviously we'll find out later what that was all about.
Yes, we will.
It was just I don't know. It just seemed it was comical. That also didn't fit. It was almost like there was 2 stories that we had to pay attention to with this. And I'm interested in the strap match, which it's hard for me to say about a respect match because you would think like in any other time that would be like that sounds like a horrible fucking stipulation, but this actually does seem like it's got some weight to it. But this match itself, like it needed some structure, and there was. I'm okay with there being like some reality to it, but give me a match still. This was not much of a match. This was just more of just Pillman just running around and not doing anything in the match. Like he wasn't selling anything. Neither was Hugh Morris. But I think that's kind of his character to a degree. And Sullivan was selling nothing at all to Pillman either. It looked like they were like biting each other. And like, yeah, that part was exciting, but I'm more into structure. I couldn't give it a 2-star.
Fair enough, Kyle. After this, we're going to get the Marcus Bagwell versus Ric Flair match. But first, I don't know if you noticed yet of this, Kyle, or not, but a little child started running down the entrance ramp towards the ring, and right after it, you saw a mother chasing after him. Nobody calls it out. You don't see security anywhere, and then they cut away. Did you happen to catch this?
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't know if that was actually just a short person who was working for the company. I didn't know if that was like someone who was working like running down and like. There's sometimes you straighten the cords out or something like that.
No, this was a little child getting chased by his mom.
Okay, fair enough.
And then they cut to the commentary booth, Kyle, and out comes Paul Orndorff in a neck brace, and he says the thing about payback is you never know when they're going to happen. Apparently he was the man with the broom, Kyle, and this is actually where the puns fly. I misspoke. I thought it was earlier. This is when they start talking about the clean sweep.
None of them actually say out loud, "Oh my God, it was Paul Orndorff that hit him." They decided just to do a bunch of broom puns, which sucks because I get it that if they were actually going to do a storyline with Paul Orndorff and like Arn Anderson because of everything that happened, or him and the Horsemen, make it sound serious. They literally just laughed this off like it wasn't even important.
They did.
And
it was like their way of
I know they don't do anything with it.
They literally just tried to. That was their way of wrapping up the Paul Orndorff attack story that the Horsemen. Of course, the Horsemen basically retiring Orndorff a few weeks back, and this is their way of wrapping that
was like over a month ago.
Hey, so was the Scott Norton Scott Norton Shark feud. By the way, Shark Norton is now my favorite wrestler name.
Well, let's see, if anyone's seen this, if anybody wants to do some photoshopping of Shark Norton, please do it.
Shark Norton and Cycle Sid, WrestleMania. Book it.
Book it.
So... Anyways, they wait 6 weeks for that. They basically wait a month for this. It's WCW, Kyle. The commentary team lets us know that Macho Man dropped Hogan off to the hospital and peaced out, and he's on his way back to the arena, which makes him a bad friend, I think. Like if your friend is bloodied and possibly could be blind, and you just like toss him into the hospital and say, "Peace, I got to go back to the the arena. That's just not good, Macho.
Well, he was going back to avenge him. You know, he's not a doctor. He'll leave Miss Elizabeth with Hogan.
I suppose so. They said Mongo said Hogan had been opened up like a paper bag, which I have never
I thought that was
heard
Bischoff
before.
that said that.
Was it Bischoff? Maybe it was Bischoff.
I'm pretty sure it was Bischoff.
You know, I didn't quote it. Who it said it here? I guess I just assume when it's a stupid quote that it's Mongo.
Mongo probably would have said something like he was opened up like a Texas paper bag.
What am I just said? I think Mongo has the next quote I have here, which says, "More action than the law allows." After I had to read my notes here a couple times. They say there's more action than the law allows. That's what Mongo said. Following a sequence which involved a duck clothesline, followed by a duck clothesline, and then followed into when one bumped into the other, and he rolled backwards and flipped over the top rope. This was like a la what One Man Gang when he took the chair shot last week and flipped over the top here. And,
which, by the way, that should be on Twitter before this recording comes out. I'll make sure I make the GIF of that.
There you go. And Kyle, during this match, they start discussing the Super Brawl card because, let's be honest, we're not expecting a lot out of Bagwell versus Flair here. And we find out that Lex and Sting are going to be defending their tag titles, assuming they win tonight, versus the Harlem Heat. We find out the TV title is going to be on the line with DDP and Johnny B. Bad.
Which I'm convinced those are the only two people that have fought for the for the TV titles in the past 2 months.
Right, I agree. Then, of course, we'll go with the Public Enemy versus Nasty Boys. I think it's going to be like a Philly street fight, since those two teams are basically the same. And Conan, of course, Kyle, is going to be defending the United States Championship against One Man Gang.
Rip One Man Gang. We never fought. I actually watched while I was waiting for while I was finishing up my notes. I was like, wait, hold on a second. So Conan's now the U.S. champion.
He won it on Main Event.
Who had the title literally last week.
Conan won it on Main Event. It's the second most important title in your wrestling company, and it's being won on Main Event and being mentioned as like, oh, by the way, Conan also will be defending the United States champion. Conan just showed up last week, and now he's the United States and the Mexican world champion.
So basically, he's like the Intercontinental champion, or
right.
the North American champion, or I don't know what you want to call that. No, it's crazy because we've been watching since August. The title has changed hands 3 times. We have not seen or heard any news of any of those title changes. Not once.
None.
We have not seen that title change hands either on a pay-per-view.
To be fair, we didn't even see the title until a couple weeks ago.
Right, but you would think at least either at a pay-per-view, and by the way, not a dark match in the pay-per-view like we had, or on Nitro. We've seen the World Heavyweight Championship change hands 3 times on Nitro.
And defended weekly.
And defended on a weekly basis. We have, for those who don't know this and have been listening to our podcast, there are 4 titles on this show. You wouldn't know it, but there are 4. There are 3 singles titles and the tag titles, but you would never, ever... The tag titles might as well be the next most coveted title, and the only reason why is because Sting and Luger have them.
Right, yeah, they're involved in a storyline with Sting and Luger, so... Yeah, it's crazy to me, but eventually that'll get better, I think. But it's not anytime soon, apparently. Flair is going to win this match, Kyle, with the figure 4. Nothing I really want to discuss about this match. I'm just going to give it 2 stars and say that's it. If there's any spots or anything you want to discuss, or give me your rating, Kyle.
No, I don't have any real spots other than I feel like Flair did give Bagwell.
He sold a lot for him.
He did. I think he really did try to make Bagwell look good, like he was trying to enhance.
Yes, he did.
He enhanced Bagwell in this. Bagwell did not need to win this match to look better after it. And this was it was like a 10-minute match, which was another thing I was very surprised about. This is a longer match than I'm used to, even with Flair. And for the most part, Bagwell gave him what he could. Although I will say there's a point where I don't really care too. Like I feel like I I think 8 minutes is a max for a Bagwell match. I really don't want to see much more. The only other cool, funny spot that I saw was Flair wouldn't let go of the figure four, and he just punches the ref. Which I don't even know the name of the ref.
That was classic. I was going to say, after the match, he hits the ref after he doesn't let it go. This leads to Macho Man running out, chases Flair down, and Flair knocks down another ref in the process. So refs are just taking it left and right after. It's really been a bad couple of weeks to be a ref, Kyle. Now here, and then of course Vader taking care of a couple referees on Raw. Not a good time. Hopefully they get some hazard pay.
Or let's hope they don't unionize anytime soon.
Yeah. After this, we're going to go to our main event, Kyle. Sting and Lex versus the Road Warriors. Apparently, Kyle, Sting was really ready and willing to accept this challenge from the Road Warriors, but Luger was dodging it. So, again, you could see a little bit of dissension they're trying to build up between Sting and Lex. I'm wondering if they're going to get along. And
I love this. I laugh about this storyline because now I've realized this is actually the best storyline WCW has, and it's sad. It's the Luger is the scum of the earth, and Sting can't figure it out.
Right.
That's what this whole thing is. Lex Luger is probably one of the biggest heels. He does so much heel stuff, and Sting for the most part is so either oblivious or just kind of shakes his head I don't agree, but there you go.
Yeah, it's like Sting's like that. Girl who's in an abusive relationship, but she just doesn't realize her boyfriend's cheating on her the whole time, and just letting it be.
I would break up with him, but I got all of my CDs in his truck, so we're just gonna hang out for a bit longer.
That said, Kyle, I thought Sting's hair looked very dark here. He needs to bleach it again, or is this when he's starting to let it grow out? I don't know. But
I don't think so. I don't think that starts happening until way after NWO starts.
Yeah, I didn't think so either, but I just thought it was. I just noticed it was noticeably dark here. Of course, we're still getting plenty of LOD chants, and they're still discussing and calling them the Legion of Doom at times, which I just think is funny. And then, Kyle, the power goes out. All of a sudden, you see this graphic warning. They lose connection. I'm like, what has just happened? And then the commentary booth explains that they just lost power and everything went dark in the arena. It was very interesting, Kyle, but they do let us know that the C stands for committed, so we're going to see this match and this show play out, which is always good to see.
Totally appreciate it. Thank you so much, Bischoff and WCW.
Right. Of course, they're still playing out the story of Lex and Sting having differences in how they wrestle or how they win matches. At one point, Lex pulls down the rope to send Animal to the outside. Jimmy Hart's going to come in, Kyle, and he's going to drop this lead plate item, which bangs on the stairs to let you know, man, this is a heavy, hard, strong piece of metal or something. Lex is going to take that item, and he's going to hit Animal in the back with it. This leads to a 3 count. Sting seems in disbelief, but still not really sure if Sting saw how they won or not.
He seemed upset, he saw it.
Yeah, yes.
Usually he has this look of confusion, oh, we won. Oh, all right, cool, yeah. But this time he seemed what the hell happened? That didn't seem legit.
Right.
I think he also because he saw Jimmy Hart come down.
Probably. I'm going to give it 2.25 stars. The match was okay, but I'm really liking the storytelling with the Sting and Luger thing, like you said.
I mean, it's taken long enough for them to finally turn it around and make it something that's halfway interesting to pay attention to. I did not. I gave this 1.75 stars. I thought the match itself was actually not good. You can still tell Animal is just not there completely yet. Once again, Hawk no-sells a pile driver to his defense. That was probably one of the worst pile drivers I've ever seen by Luger. And at one point, just for those of you who don't know this, before the torture rack, the pile driver was Luger's finishing move. So he knows how to do a fucking pile driver. It did not look good. And here is the thing that I can't stand. The foreign object explanation by the commentary. Here's the thing. If you are running a primetime wrestling program that billionaire Ted is putting his money behind, and it's a TV company, they should know better than this. there's like a classic thing that you have to pay attention to when you're using backhanded tactics like this. If you have to extensively explain what the foreign object is, it's not effective. If someone pulls out the dick knuckles like that like the Four Horsemen been doing, and you're like, oh, he brought out the knuckles, like, that's fine. You don't have to explain anything. But if you gotta, like, if you bring out a fucking weird looking rectangle, a red rectangle, and they're like, oh, that's probably 40 pounds of lead. First of all, how do you know that? Then all of a sudden Heenan's like, oh, that's a big lead plate that they use to open doors, to keep doors open. So basically it's like it's a doorstop. And right. It's just one of those things like, oh, it's a common object we have around here. It's used in construction. Like, they tried to explain what the object was. It's kind of like trying to tell a joke. If you tell a joke and you tell the punchline, and then you got to explain the punchline, it's not a funny joke. And that's why I didn't really like why are they picking all these different? Is there something about Lakeland? Is Lakeland like the lead plate like capital of the world? I understood the silver dollars when they were in Caesar's Palace, but now, like, why couldn't they have just used a chair? Why couldn't they have just used brass knuckles? Why this?
Fair enough. They could have used whatever. I thought the commentary team didn't even need to sell it. I thought Jimmy Hart dropping it on the stairs for dramatic effect, like, oh, you can hear how loud it hit, like, that's a heavy item. That's a heavy, with the
I would have rather they had just been like, what the hell is that? That looks heavy, but
and
what is that?
They probably could have.
Instead of mansplaining it.
Yeah, they didn't need to explain it. But I think it was. I enjoyed the end of Jimmy Hart dropping it for effect for the crowd and stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, that's what it is. But you're right. They could have just used like a wrench or a lead pipe or something like that.
Exactly. Something that you're like, that's a wrench.
Yes, right. After the match, Kyle, Animal and Hawk are going to get on with Mean Gene, and they're going to basically demand a rematch. They say they want the winner of this Harlem Heat Sting and Lex match at Super Brawl. And we're going to go back to the commentary team, Kyle. They said they still don't know. They have no word on Hogan and how he's doing. And they remind you that there's 2 cages for Hogan and Giant and Flair and Savage coming up at Super Brawl 6. That, of course, is going to be this Sunday. And that is your Nitro, Kyle. What did you think?
It was weird. Once again, the outside looking in on the first match, just knowing who was in that match, it was hard. Once again, like it was kind of mentioned before, it was hard to kind of separate everything. I'm intrigued by things I didn't think I'd be intrigued by. I didn't think I'd ever be intrigued in a respect match between Pillman and Sullivan. I didn't think I would give a shit really about the whole Sting and Luger thing, but I feel like it's coming around to something that I'm actually halfway interested in. This was if I remember correctly, this was the go home show, and they very vaguely, oh, by the way, in the middle of the last match of the night, or the third match of the night, here's the rest of the card. No explanation, just run it through real quick. I can't stand it. As far as the matches, as far as quality is concerned, I think you had two good matches. One chaotic match with a fucking broom, and then the paperweight of Doom, against the Legion of Doom. It was all over the place. I really have a hard time really deciding whether or not I liked it or not, though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. As far as go home show goes, not very good, because they basically just have to read the card to you at one point to let you know that, oh, by the way, these are all the matches that we have not been telling you about for weeks. The matches themselves were just okay. If it wasn't a go-home show, I think I would have liked it a lot better, because I enjoyed the Sting and Lex storytelling. I kind of enjoyed the Pillman-Arn Anderson storytelling. And, there was aspects of the storytelling I enjoyed. That said, for a go-home show, not great, but I still think it's been a better Nitro than we've been seeing. Maybe not match quality, but just overall show.
I feel like the last 3 shows, I feel like there's been a swerve. And I feel like Super Brawl also is going to be a night of swerves, and then it's just like, I feel like that's what they do. Like, they're going to wait until you think you know everything, and then they're just going to just pull a 180, and that's how they create stories. Which I'm not saying I'm against, but I am against repetitiveness. And I really hope that when they come up with a good idea, they don't just take that idea and then just make that be the idea for everything else.
Well, then you're going to love Raw, Kyle, because we get some repetitiveness over here. Let's just get into the show, because that's what they do. They open right up, Kyle. Yokozuna's music's playing, and out come British Bulldog and Yokozuna.
You're right. There was no promo
nothing.
or
It opened up to Yokozuna's music.
Yeah.
Of course, they ended Raw last week. Jim Cornette issuing the challenge, his guys versus the Glimmer Twins. So we got Diesel and HBK. King and Vince, of course, reminding you, Kyle, that we got Undertaker versus Bret Hart for the title later tonight. And then we go to a replay of Yokozuna dropping that leg on Bulldog, and then later when Owen Hart hit Yokozuna. So they're wondering, is there more dissension amongst Cornette's camp? This match I actually thought was okay for a tag match, given, Diesel and Yokozuna in it, things like that. I think Yokozuna has a great Samoan drop, by the way. I don't know if I ever really just realized that, but the way he dropped it on Diesel, I thought was very smooth, which...
Also considering the person that he was giving
exactly.
it to.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, for how big Diesel is, and just I thought it was very smooth the way the two worked that in there. I had to laugh, though, Kyle. That one-handed shoulder massage hold that Yokozuna had on Shawn, it literally looked like he was just pinching his shoulder, and he held it there for a while. And it's so silly. I'm glad that one thing wrestling has done these days is got rid of these silly-looking rest holds like this.
But, I mean, it hasn't been too... Well, here's the other thing, too. We don't have a lot of Samoans in wrestling anymore, or the ones that aren't your classic Samoan wrestlers that might use that move. I think the last time I ever saw someone do like the nerve pinchy of Doom was probably Umaga, rest in peace. But that wasn't that long ago. I mean, that's maybe 6 years ago? 7 years ago? 5, 6 years ago? When he would use that move. But once again, you got to talk about the person administering. It's a 642-pound man. He's not exactly going to drop do some drop kicks. So the massage of death is going to be in his arsenal.
It is worth noting that Umaga's been dead for 9 years, Kyle. So
what?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Well, I guess technically just over 7 years. He died in 2009. So.
Wow, I thought he died in 2011.
No. Just wanted to throw that out there. That's okay. I thought Ahmed Johnson was dead, so we both make mistakes.
That's true. I at least knew Umaga was dead.
Right. Davey Boy Sucks chants happen a lot in this match, Kyle. Eventually, Sean's going to he kind of gets beat up for a while. He's going to eventually get the hot tag after he basically disrespects and steps over Yokozuna. And then Diesel drops apparently the most devastating big boots to both guys, just about knocking him out. He's going to tag Shawn back in, who does a big top rope splash over Diesel. And then Bulldog's going to pull the old Yokozuna and drop a leg drop in his attempt to break a tag, or to break up a 3 count, which I feel like is not the ideal way of breaking a 3 count. You can just give him a little kick, a little bump, but he goes for the leg drop. They move, so he drops the leg drop on Yokozuna. Yokozuna's going to get up and get super kicked to the outside, and apparently that's enough for Yokozuna to not be able to get back into the ring, Kyle. We're going to get a count out. I give it 2 stars. It was okay. You don't see that finish very often with the kind of knocked out 10 count. It reminded me of the Nintendo WrestleMania game when you throw the fat guy out of the ring. I think it was Andre the Giant, and he couldn't get back in because he was too fat. So for that nostalgia factor, 2 stars.
My nostalgia factor was I think that was exactly how Lex Luger beat Yokozuna in SummerSlam remember when he got that one WWF title shot against Yokozuna and he beats him by count out and everybody cheers and there's streamers everywhere he won the title but he really didn't. That's kind of what this reminded me of. I just found that it was funny that I know they keep talking about there's dissension in the ranks of the Cornette's guys. In this case, the only time that Yokozuna really screwed up, well, I guess I don't know how long we're going back, but the last 3 weeks, it was Yokozuna screwed up once because he dropped the leg on accident. Owen Hart hits Yokozuna to cause him to lose,
right? And
then Bulldog hits Yokozuna to cause him to later on get super kicked to lose. And at the end of the match, Cornette's yelling at Yokozuna,
yes,
even though he's done the least amount of damage, I feel to the group.
Yeah, so Cornette, like you said, after the match, Kyle, Cornette is going to get into Yokozuna's face, and he starts berating him, or as Vince McMahon so eloquently...
Verbally raped
Yokozuna. My God, that does not age well, does it?
No, it does not. That was very cringy when I heard that. I'm like, well, is that what you're going to say? Okay, all right.
Yeah. All right. Needless to say, Kyle, you can see what's happening. Yokozuna's getting his face turned. He snaps on Team Cornette. They basically all scamper out of the ring and head back. So you get Yokozuna looking like a monster again, Kyle. He's a face. He's probably going to start feuding with either Bulldog and or Owen Hart at some point. Which, I don't know, Kyle, does that make you happy? Last week you kind of went on a little bit of a rant that Yokozuna, two-time world champion, this monster forever, has been kind of relegated to what he's been doing for a bit. The tag team matches, kind of more quasi-enhancement in some ways. And now getting a little bit of a storyline and a little bit of a push again. So were you happy about this or still not good enough?
No, I'm actually opposite. There's too many faces on the card. You know for a fact that if you got Razor, Diesel, Shawn, I know this is going to sound crazy for me to say this, but Ahmed Johnson, a guy that they're pushing, to be like the man among men type of guy. It's too crowded. It's too crowded at this point. He's better off as a heel if they want to bring him. If he can just go back to bring back Mr. Fuji, let him get back to his roots, and let him not all of his follies have been because he's been with other people. And if they could just have him be a heel, and I also know this too, there's not been a whole lot of Samoans not named The Rock that have had very good success as faces. Like, they don't last long. Those runs don't usually last long. So, and I just know this because on the outside looking in, he does not last too much longer in the WWF with whatever his new gimmick is going to be.
Right. Well, at least they're trying to do something with them anyways. After this, Kyle, we're going to get the Hakushi versus 1-2-3 Kid match. And this is one I the first time I was watching it, this was like I said, this was the 5th episode in a row or so I was watching. And I was kind of dozing off during this, so I just kind of rewatched the match right now. I
think you also dozed off with the fact that there was a Mankind vignette right before this.
Oh, was it really? I definitely missed that then.
It was like 8 seconds long. All they did was it was like foggy, smoky. He basically just says like, finally I'll be somewhere that's more hardcore. I'll have a nice day. And they just kind of like zoomed in on his cauliflower ear. And that was it.
Oh, you're right. I do remember that, and I did not write it in my notes. So, good call. This match between Hakushi and 1-2-3 Kid, it was actually, I enjoyed this match.
To me, it's the best match of both shows.
Yes, I will agree with you there. A good high-flying match. A lot, kind of what you expected to see in Nitro, and what we saw in Nitro, like, during September and October, during those opening matches with, Pillman and Benoit and Eddie and things like that, and we haven't really seen much of that out of Nitro recently, but here we are. At one point, you see one of those top rope maneuvers where Kid's jumping off the top rope, and Hakushi hits him with a drop kick, perfectly timed. Animal and Barbarian could take a little bit of notes on how to effectively hit the top rope reversal.
I think that was more Animal's fault, but we'll keep going.
Fair enough. Then Animal can take notes.
There you go.
At one point, Hakushi hits a Hurricanrana, which Vince says the referee was out of position for that 3 count. I thought the referee was like exactly where he needed to be, but I guess to each his own. And Kid's gonna win this match, Kyle, with a top rope double underhook suplex. Gotta say, I was shocked that is in Sean Waltman's repertoire, and B, how this match is gonna end. I gave it 2.5 stars. I really enjoyed this match.
I gave it 2 3/4, and I gave it that because I thought there would be more underhand tactics by the heel side, but really there wasn't.
I expected that as well. Yep.
I mean, I think DiBiase maybe got like 1 kick outside in, but that was about it. And the rest of it was all 1-2-3 Kid pulling off that match. So it made him look good. I think that was a good thing to do because he's going to be in a match with Razor Ramon. You should let him win one cleanly or at least as clean as a heel can have.
And that was the other thing I expected too, Kyle. I expected Kid to have some underhand tactics, and I also thought Razor was going to interfere at some point, and neither happened. So kudos. It
was almost like you expected things to happen, but because it didn't, you actually enjoyed it better.
Yeah, absolutely, I did.
I gave it 2 3/4. I think I did say that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. After the match, we're going to get a promo with Clarence Mason and Cornette again, Kyle, which basically saying the same thing they said last week, that they're going to sue if Vader's not reinstated. And then we get the Gorilla Monsoon gets to respond, Kyle. He's sitting there wearing a neck brace, which again just looks great. And first of all, he apologizes for his actions. He said it was not, very respectable of a president in his stature to be doing that kind of things. Very not very becoming of him. He basically says Vader provoked him, said some things that maybe the cameras didn't pick up that he was not very happy with. Maybe he talked about Mama Monsoon or something like that. He said he didn't respond as a president. And they asked him, he said basically it's going to be highly unlikely that Vader's going to get reinstated, but says it will be up to the board of directors. And then they ask him about Piper, and he says the Hot Rod has been his friend for over 20 years, and says he's a loose cannon, but he'll be good for the WWF until he, being Gorilla Monsoon, returns after WrestleMania. So apparently Monsoon is not, his interim presidency is not necessarily over, Kyle.
I don't remember it not. I remember him coming back, but I don't know how much longer this whole interim president just shtick in general sticks around. I know for a fact that by '98, when you and I really got back into full force watching wrestling again, there was no interim president. I think we just had Commissioner Slaughter at that point. Is that all?
You get really commissioner. Yeah, you get commissioners because Slaughter was a commissioner. Michaels was a commissioner at one point. Of course. Vince will flex his muscles at times, but
yeah. So I'm not sure how much longer this goes. I did like. I don't know. I did like the fact that for Gorilla Monsoon decided he wanted to explain to us all of his injuries. He was like, I got something like a cartilage and a trapezio. He actually was I thought he was a damn doctor.
He was trying to pretend like he was a doctor.
I think he said he injured his external occipital protuberance or something.
One of the lines he said, I feel, is the most overused medical line in wrestling when they talk about I did the lower third orbital bone of my
metacarpal.
Yeah, he just throws out a bunch of words, but yeah, you're right. It was kind of funny.
I feel like he should win the Slammy for best fake doctor on WWF.
It's going to be him or Isaac Yankem, I guess, right?
I mean, yeah. If you're talking about someone who's practicing some sort of, some sort of medical service, you count dentistry.
After this, guy, we're going to get a world title match: Undertaker versus Bret Hart, and let's not, bury the lead, but the urn is back, Kyle. Paul Bearer brought the urn back.
Happy. They heard my complaints.
The complaints have been heard. They melted down the gold chain necklace, and the urn looks phenomenal. So whoever
the urn looks like shit. The urn looks like a $4 piece of shit. I'm I almost, when I saw the urn, I was like, I gotta miss the chains.
And it's also worth noting, Kyle, Undertaker no longer wearing the Phantom of the Opera mask. It, of course, was ripped off of him during the Royal Rumble match. So it's good to see the urn back and Taker's face back, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now I'm glad to know that I actually really enjoyed the mask Undertaker, but it was a fun. It definitely sold a lot of action figures. I'll say this: one of the things I was reading up on was that short period, the Undertaker shirts and. Because they didn't know how long he was going to be injured. So they're like, crap, if we're going to sell product, why don't we just take advantage of this, crazy looking, masked Undertaker? And there was a lot of, special edition, limited edition Undertaker stuff.
Yeah, you could sell the mask itself for kids to buy. You can sell the toys. You could sell T-shirts. It was a great gimmick, really. I mean, it made a lot of sense for him to continue wearing it. But it's gone now, Kyle. And they let you know that the 96 Slammy Awards are coming up. So we get that. And a reminder Kyle, that next week Raw is going to be preempted for the Westminster Dog Show. Of course, this was a staple
I forgot
in the
all
90s.
about that as a kid.
So
it was that in the U.S. Open that would always like fuck over
Yes,
Raw
they
for
would.
a couple. Yep.
Right. So next week, fans, when we discuss the November. God, I am way off on these months all of a sudden. The February 12th edition, we're going to be discussing just Nitro, so the show might be more like a 45-minute show. So
Can we look up the results of the '96 Westminster Dog Show?
maybe we can
go
see
over them.
who wins that. Yeah. That said, of course, Bret Hart, the great champion he is, Kyle, willing to defend his title here against Undertaker, knowing he's got a cage match upcoming with Diesel. As probably everybody would expect, Diesel is going to walk out, and he actually distracts Undertaker during the when he does the old school on the ropes. That might be the only time I can remember where the Undertaker had old school reversed.
Yeah, at that point in his career, I agree.
I mean, I don't even know, just in that point, like, I cannot remember when it's ever been reversed. It just seemed to be one of those spots that just didn't get reversed. I don't know.
Oh, I've seen it reversed. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it reversed on many matches, but this is the first time this is probably the earliest we've seen it.
Okay. Diesel is going to, of course, sit down at the broadcast table to discuss the match with Vince. And
he was very quiet. Like I figured if Diesel was going to be on there, he was going to do some antics,
Right.
crack some jokes. He was very not Diesel.
What is your
on
thought in
commentary.
general about wrestlers getting in on the commentary for matches like where their opponents are wrestling?
I mean, I know what's going to happen ultimately, but I think I usually they talk more shit. They bring themselves up. You know, there's a lot of questions.
Do you think it hurts or helps the wrestlers usually?
I think it usually helps, and I only say that because it's all about. Look, once again, we didn't get a Slam Jam this week. This is another go home show, so we didn't have a Slam Jam. So we got to do something.
Oh, I guess it is a
show.
go home show because we're preempted next week, right?
Right. So, and yeah, I mean, the pay per view is this Sunday. So
No, it's not this Sunday because this Sunday's Super Brawl. It's the week after, I think.
Oh, I thought both pay per views were on the same night.
No. They wouldn't do that. The other pay per view, I think it's like the 18th of February or something like that.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It is February 18th. That's my bad. But the moment you said that, I remember they mentioned that date a bunch of times. But in this case, it didn't really help. I keep on saying Nash, but it didn't really help Diesel in this case because he didn't talk all that much. He was definitely like they would feed him questions. They were doing. I feel like Lawler and Vince did what they were supposed to do to kind of be like, what are you doing here? What are your thoughts on this? Who would you rather face between the two? Because it could be possible you're going to take on the Undertaker. And he just gave like 2-word, 3-word answers. He basically gave us a Diana Smith of interviewing.
And that's the problem. So like when you get a guy on there who can talk, which, you know, Nash is known for talking. So I guess at this time he's still kind of... He has his moments in the Diesel run here where he talks great and other times where he struggles a little bit. And I think this is one of the times where he just wasn't great. And if you get somebody in here who can't talk and they're basically put on there to talk, it's sometimes like, I think, has the reverse effect where it makes him look worse. And I don't think he came out looking good here. And there's even a point where he said he's watching the weather forecast and he saw it's -70 in hell today.
And then he had to explain it. And I feel like he had to explain the joke.
Well, then Vince goes...
Because it's cold in hell, right?
Right. And then Vince goes on here and goes, well, it doesn't matter until February 18th. So Vince just comes back and shits all over that.
He did give one thing where he said, like, well, you could be taking on the Undertaker, like, but I assume you're not afraid of the darkness of the Undertaker. And then he says, and I got one of those battery powered flashlights in my room.
Yeah,
I'll be fine.
What is that?
Yeah, it was corny. Like, you're gonna get a little bit of that with Diesel. Like, he's gonna be a little funny about stuff. But only thing I will say though is that I'm glad he did come to the ring. Because this match was not good. No,
it really wasn't, and that's kind of why I had us talk more about that than the match itself. Eventually, Undertaker is going to get Bret Hart up for a tombstone, but in the process, Undertaker is going to kick the ref and knock him out. Bret Hart's...
No, hold on. No, that is not. Here, what he did was he grazed him slightly to the side of the head, and I think that's our boy White, right? I think that's who was doing this.
Was it Tim White? I don't.
Near certain it was Tim White. He goes to the ground and he looks like he's rubbing his eye, like he's like, oh man, like almost like he's trying to collect himself, like, oh man, I kind of got grazed there. He's kind of like rubbing it, and then all of a sudden he just slumps and he's done.
He's out for a while.
But that's funny is that the first 5 seconds he's like nursing
still
it.
with it.
He's
yeah,
like,
right.
He's going. He's like I
he
thought
incorrectly sold it. Right.
Yeah. He died. He was sort of out of commission for a moment and then died.
Of course, this is when you're going to get all the action happening, Kyle. Bret Hart's going to have a roll-up, which gets no count. Diesel's going to get involved. He's going to attack Hart. Then Taker's going to come and stop Diesel. Then Diesel's going to hit Taker with a chair. And they keep mentioning all of a sudden this idea of a triple threat match that they said Roddy Piper threw out there, whatever this means. So is this the first time in WWF where they're going to have 3 men face each other and they're calling it a triple threat? Like, has the term triple threat match never existed in Raw or in WWF at this point?
Roddy Piper has been given credit for the birth of the triple threat match.
So it's kind of interesting because, of course, we had the triangle match on, Nitro at Starrcade. Is that the first time that there was a 3-person match or not? I'm curious. I don't know. I guess I just assumed this was a thing that has been going on for a long time, but here we are.
Well, here's the thing. I think a triple threat match is different than a triangle match, because remember, in that triangle match, you could lose or by disqualification, you could lose by count out, like it happened in that match.
Sure, right.
Whereas a triple threat match is pinfall or submission, and that's it. You can't win by any other way. I'm pretty sure triple threat's also no DQ.
Okay, but I guess at the end of the day, I'm still thinking it's a 3-person match.
Right, but if you were to ask Vince, he'd tell you that a triple threat match is way different than a 3-man or a triangle match.
All right.
He'll tell you it's a brand new match.
If you say so. We're going to go to commercial break, Kyle. We're going to come back, and the match is declared a draw. And Undertaker, they said, went to the locker room. I'm not going to rate this match because I don't think it's worth rating. But if you want to rate it, go for it.
I rated it 1.5. It was a crappy main event. We knew that they've already been giving this. They've already been giving promoting who is going to be at the pay-per-view. They already got the posters. They've already got everything put out for that's going to be Bret Hart versus Diesel. We knew that the title was not going to change hands. I actually watched the Undertaker match from the Royal Rumble. That was not, honestly, that wasn't even really a good match. It was okay. This was even worse. So now this is 2 matches in a row where both Bret Hart and Undertaker really did not look good. And yeah, I mean, we already kind of discussed that the only kind of interesting thing was Diesel going to commentary and then the shenanigans that happened after the match. I gave it 1.5.
Okay, Kyle, then we're going to close the show out with the our Billionaire Ted segment. Of course, they kind of talk about what happened last week on the To Be Continued. They basically said he gets on there and Ted says that money motivates him, tells his dad to kiss this, and basically just talks about how he's all about money, and money's his ultimate motivator. And then they cut to a picture of, looks like Ted Turner in a newspaper, and it's Vince McMahon saying there was an ad posted about Ted Turner and basically about how he lost $40 million of your money to the advertiser, basically saying during a personal vendetta against the WWF, and basically tells Time Warner to beware, and he says that this ad was apparently rejected, so Vince is basically showing it here for everybody to see, and says that they're going to run a different version of it in the Wednesday edition, I think, of the Wall Street Journal. So kind of again, just them trying to make Ted Turner out to be this evil person.
It's it's just weird because it feels like, yeah, Bishop and them they kind of like, hey, you don't need to watch the other show. Here are the results. Once again, petty, kind of underhanded, whatever. Vince is taking this to another level, like putting out ads.
Yeah. I mean, he's
Jesus.
he's not quite there yet, Kyle, but I feel like he might be verbally raping Ted Turner, if I could use that term.
If we could eloquently use Vince McMahon's words.
Right. So it's very interesting. I mean, it is a little, I feel like he's playing a little dirtier now, but it's again what we said, moments it's all about wrestling and let's make a joke here, and then the next minute it's something like this, or it's a Goldust segment, and then you turn around and there's a guy shoving a baby bottle in the other guy's mouth. So they're kind of all over the place. That said, your overall thoughts on Raw, Kyle?
I mean, I will give credit that I think the best match on both shows was Kid and Hougie. I thoroughly enjoyed the match. I liked the ending. I was very surprised that some of the things that I was assuming were going to happen did not happen, as far as heel tactics and of the sorts. It was a very crisp match. You had, I mean, for once you kind of had a lot of the big hitters on the show, which is not something that Raw normally does. I mean, you had all of Cornette's goons. You had the Glitter Twins, or the Doo-Doos with attitudes. You had Brett and Undertaker.
It doesn't get much star power than that for a Raw.
Exactly. I think the only thing was, we didn't have the Intercontinental Champion with Goldust. We didn't have Razor.
Goldust, no Razor. That's probably the biggest ones that were missing. And then of course Vader wasn't on there, but he's just kind of being introduced.
He's suspended
anyways.
Indefinitely still at this point.
Right.
So
that's right.
And the thing is, he was mentioned. It's not like that storyline of Vader continues on. He might not actually.
I mean,
be on
I guess the only one that
television
wasn't mentioned then was Goldust, because obviously you got a lot of Razor talk in there too. So,
right. But I also feel like, and we kind of touched on this, that the whole Goldust storyline, I feel like they're pulling back a little bit. So maybe they're taking this week or two to just let things settle down a little bit. Yeah. Right. Yep.
That said, who wins the week for you?
This is actually rough, because I feel like the quality of the matches were, I would put just a smidge to the Raw side.
I think Raw's matches were better. Yeah.
But I once again, we're also I know the way you grade, you're going to grade Nitro a little harsher because it's a go home show, and the whole just like, oh, by the way, we did have a new U.S. champion in Conan. He's going to take on the one-man gang. Oh, by the way, I remember he lost the match in one main event. But even though we don't know that, they never told us that. We had to look that up. Once again, there's so much egregious shit that goes on. Like, if it's not about Flair, if it's not about Hogan, if it's not about Savage, then who gives a shit? Gun to my head, I think the overall production of the show, I think Raw wins by a nose.
It's funny because I think Nitro wins by a nose this week, and for me, I think it's just I enjoyed the storytelling. Even though it was a go-home show and I grade those harsher, I just wasn't crazy. Raw just had better matches, but overall, just it's sort of a go-home show for Raw because they're preempted next week. So for that reason, I'm going to say Nitro wins, but it's close. It's close for me. As far as the ratings go, Kyle, Raw is going to get a 2.7, and this is going to be up from a 2.4 that they had last week. And meanwhile, Nitro is going to get a 2.9, up from a 2.8 last week. So they're really just both shows doing well. They're keeping good numbers, and like I said, we're like a solid month now since pretty much the new year, Kyle. These numbers are hitting the upper 2s and into the 3s. So we'll have to see next.
It's only going to get wilder.
Absolutely, and of course next week we're going to get wilder with the Westminster Dog Show preempting Raw. We're going to be here just to review the Nitro. And like I said, we'll hopefully be renewed and rejuvenated after the long break of this marathon podcasting that we've been doing. And if you guys haven't subscribed to us yet, go out there. We're on iTunes. We're on Google Play. Leave us some feedback. Let us know. Hey, you know what? Stop marathoning. We like it up to date. We like it. Where you guys are refreshed, or hey, you guys did a great job. Keep doing it. However you do it. You can always follow us on iTunes. Oh, now iTunes. See, this is what happens in your marathon on Facebook.
Here. Take a seat. I got you here. Follow us on Facebook. Make sure you're following us also on Twitter at Monday Night War. We're also on Instagram. You can also see all
Monday
of our
Night
old
Tour.
episodes.
You said Monday Night War.
Oh my God! You go back. You got it.
All right, the hot tag back into me. I'm rejuvenated. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can go to MondayNightTours.com for all of our social media accounts, past episodes, everything like that. And like I said, we'll be right back here next week for the February 12th edition of WCW Monday Nitro and the Westminster Dog Show. But that's going to be our show. I'm going to go get married. You're going to come back from San Francisco. For Kyle Hoagland, I am Josh Kaiser, and we will see you guys next time on the Monday Night Tours.
Have a good Tuesday. See you later.